Okay, welcome to your last class. Well, for most of you, your last class ever. How about that? So I'm going to go through a
Kind of
couple th
crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm going to go through a couple things today just over the class, just quickly over the class. Just things that you'll need to do just for this class, but I'm also going to go over a couple of things as we look kind of to the transition to um, your associate uh, as you gather your license. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up something here. There we go. So uh, I'll and I'm going to answer questions and we can go over any questions that you have or anything that's going on. So there's a couple of things as we get started to think about in terms of the like just the academic part of this class. It's fairly simple. There's one reflection paper. All of this is on Moodle. You can read through it all there. Um, there's one reflection paper. It's just one page, a reflection on your practicum experience. That's it in terms of like papers to write. And then for any of the other paperwork to turn in, um, there's a there's a self evaluation of your site and a supervisor evaluation, just like you did with Dr. Johnson. Exact same thing. And then the hours report will be the full, all your hours from when you first started until when you're ending. So I'll want all the hours from practicum one, the hours you collected during the break between sessions, and then all the hours you're doing now this summer. So I'll want all of those hours turned into me. I usually ask that we shoot to turn those hours in um, the Saturday, like basically the last Saturday of the class, which is the Saturday that starts the 10th week. I shoot for that. The reason why I do that is just in case, something's missing or we need to make some adjustments or anything. We have a few days to do that. Because when the semester ends on that next Thursday, I'll usually have all the grades and everything ready, and I'll go ahead and turn those in um, so that you can get your go ahead and get your transcripts that next week. So we're going to talk a lot more about all of these things too as we go through the semester. But that's really the only like the academic part of your practicum too. That's all that you're required to turn in to me. Um, so it's just the reflection paper, your hours report, and the evaluations. And the evaluations and hours are exactly like what you turned in to Dr. Johnson for practicum one. Uh, the other part of this class will be focused mainly on a couple of things, kind of looking at transitions to as what happens as you gather your hours for licensure. And so we'll spend some time talking about that. We're going to spend some time talking about private practice type topics. We're going to spend time talking about, you know, how to, go onto the state website, which I'm going to show you here in a second, and going through the application process. Uh, and then we also will spend time going over any cases that you might be struggling with it, like during the summer. And so we'll do a little bit of all those things throughout this time. So we'll meet 5 times total throughout the summer uh, via Zoom. And obviously, if you ever have questions, you can always send me a message, during that time too. Um, there's a couple of things that will be important. Um, Let me pull that up. Let me see if I can find it. I'll probably have to send it to you. I think it's on Moodle. I think they put it as a general announcement this time. For those of you that are LPCs, and this is your last class for sure, then you're going to be wanting to apply for graduation. So we don't have an actual ceremony at the end of the summer. The next ceremony is in the fall, but in order for you to start the transcript process, you need to apply for graduation. And I believe you have a week, so you'll have until a week from today. It's either yesterday or today. I can't remember the dates. And you can apply for that online if you go to the website. But you'll definitely want to apply for graduation. And basically, what that does, like I said, is it kind of starts the transcript process. And the reason why that's important is because one of the parts of your application for your associate license is your transcripts. And so you get those from us after you've already graduated. So that'll be kind of important. The second thing I was going to mention, and I don't have Mary Jane. I don't think Mary Jane's with us today, but I'm going to have Mary Jane come the next time we meet. Mary Jane Hall does all the site visits with all the supervisors and basically just kind of checks in and makes sure everything's okay. I'll need to know if you've added a site or changed a site, you know, sometime over the break. And what you'll need to do is send me an email message, and then I can forward that on to her. That happens every once in a while, and that's fine if you do. We just need to know so we can um, make sure we have that written down, and so she can also do a site visit with them. The site visits are done over the phone. She did those practicum one, and she's probably already started on those, or she'll start on those this coming week. So we actually have quite a few folks in this class, so it's a quite a few phone calls to make. Um, so those are the big things just to be thinking about. I'm going to go over today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council website, or the BHEC website. I'll show you that. I'm going to go over just kind of like quick a quick overview of how to apply for your license, that type thing, and then we'll spend some time taking questions, or going over anything that you're wondering about, that type thing. So we'll have plenty of time to do all of that. This first class is really meant to be an introduction and just kind of a kickstart to the semester here. And so um, I just like to meet with everyone, as quick, as early as the first day, as much as I can. That's kind of what I like doing. So um, let me take a step back because I've just talked for 10 minutes straight here. Um, if you have questions um, about anything that's happened or is happening, this is the place to ask. This is why I'm here. This is the reason why I like to do the Zoom classes. Um, and so, uh, if I'd love to just kind of open it up for any kind of questions that you have. And it can be about anything. It doesn't, I mean, I know that sounds weird, but there's always questions as we get closer to the end, because you're really making a transition from kind of this academic world into the state licensure world. And that's a pretty big transition. So does anybody have any questions about anything before I move forward here? I love to see people's video. I know not everybody likes to do it, but I like to see it.
Um, Good morning. This is Antonio, Dr. Bedard. I believe I had you for one other class. Um, so my situation was a little different. I was already at a site. I am a assistant principal at a school, high needs campus. We have social workers, we have LPCs, all the good stuff. And so I did want a more of a authentic clinical experience though. And so I did sign up for a different site. I hadn't received as many hours from that site as I wanted to or thought I would have. And so I did supplement that site with another one. And so I'm now at 99 hours.
Mhm.
Um, so once I get to, what is it, 100 hours?
Direct
Uh,
hours. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, 100 direct hours. What is the expectations after that so far as the site is concerned?
So the only expectation past 100 is whatever you want to do,
Okay.
right? So the 300, right? 300 total and 100 direct. That's the what you're shooting for. Once you get to those numbers, it's really up to you what you want to do.
Okay.
Here,
Um,
I can tell you what people mostly do, if that helps. What some people stay and just keep seeing clients, especially if they're at a site they think they're going to be at when they're gathering hours for licensure. They'll just stay there. A lot of people do that. The crazy thing about this is that if you're in an LMFT and this happens, my advice is always to stay because you can actually count up to 400 hours towards your associate license. Unfortunately, LPCs at this time can't do that. So that's why I tell people it's really up to you if you want to stay past that 100 direct hours mark.
So, what would be the process with the paperwork though, if I chose to like, because my thinking, I wanted to do like possibly add a new site to get some like group experience with some, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So when I turn in the paperwork at the end of the class, what would that look like?
you just have all your hours. You just put them
Okay.
down. Yeah. You don't change anything. You just turn everything in. But when we get to week 9, if you have 300, if you just inched in and barely made 300 hours, you turn it in. If you have 600 hours, you turn it in. It doesn't, that you just keep adding. I mean, if you want to keep seeing people, you can just keep gathering hours. I mean,
Okay.
that's really totally up to you.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good question because it does happen. People get, I've had people that have been done by the time they've gotten to Prac 2, but then we have people on the opposite end where they're like, I'm a little bit worried. I'm not going to get my hours. And I do want to know
Mm,
that too. So, we have a little bit of everything in between. So it's really up
mm.
to you if you want to keep seeing folks or not. That's really your
Okay.
decision. Yeah. In other words, there's not like a requirement past the 300, right? Like, I know some people that get to the 300 and then kind of taper off and they start studying for the exam and then take the exam or, a lot of people do, different things.
And that was my thing. I wanted to kind of hunker down on that. I did take that about a month ago and I missed it by 1 point.
Oh gosh.
Like a literal 1 point. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I cannot afford this. So I scheduled it for July
Okay.
before I go back into full principal mode.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm like, God, I need all the time I can get.
That's
Yeah,
it'd be better to fail by 20 points than
that's
one
what I
point.
told everybody. I said, I want to know if I suck, I suck. Just let me know that. Don't, 1 point is insulting. But
I'm so sorry. Well, I'm glad I bet you pass it next time.
yeah, yeah.
I have a feeling. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Anyone,
have any
yeah.
study material that you recommend for this particular test, the NCE?
So has anyone already taken it and passed it by any chance? Holly?
I, I did.
I
Would you?
did.
Um, I
Yeah.
used the counseling, the encyclopedia counseling or book. It's like the purple book. What I did is I put it on Audible and I listened to it while I was working. I tend to study well that way. It worked really well for me. And then they have a couple of cram sessions in there that he does, and I would write things down. I also did a practice test. I just Googled practice NCE test, and it was something that the NCE website took me to, and I did a free trial, so I didn't have to pay for anything. Because it was like my test is in 2 weeks, and I did a free trial and did a bunch of practice tests that way. So
Yeah.
I used the
Someone
purple book
Did you feel
too,
like, oh, I'm
but
sorry.
I also paid for just 1 month of the Pocket Prep,
pocket prep.
because every day they have hundreds, thousands of questions. I just go over, try to do as much as I can, like small piece of times. But they do come with the two full practice exams. I don't think the exams are the same type of question, but I think it help with my exam anxiety. I also listen to a podcast. It's like just called NCE Prep, but it's AI generated, but they are more like informational. They are not deep. So when I drive, I just listen to that. I think they all helped, but that's the three resource I used: the Purple
Okay.
Book, the Pocket Prep, and the podcast.
And I put two of those in the chat, just FYI for you guys.
Hey, Holly, did you feel like the one you were referred to gave questions that were kind of consistent with what was on the test or no?
No, there wasn't anything that was exactly the same. I mean, it was the same information,
Yeah.
but the questions were not asked the same way. The questions were actually very direct and straightforward. They weren't like
Tricky.
and in fact, I'll tell you where I messed up and where I struggled the most. It was all of the research,
Research methods.
And
yeah,
that's
research methods, like what is this type of experiment? What's that type of experiment? And I was
I
like,
bombed. I
oh.
bombed that. I agree. I'm like, I need intensive tutoring for that portion of the test.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me give you guys a couple of thoughts about it. There's a strong possibility that everyone in our field is very gung ho about making A's, and they're very driven to make A's. And if you don't make an A, then you fail, which is fine. That's not. There's nothing wrong with that. The exam is not like that. There's no A on an exam. It's pass or fail. That's it. If you pass by a point, you made an A, right? So when we go into the exam, we don't need to think, I need to get every single question right. Nope. I need to pass. That's it. That's a different mindset than we're used to. We don't think like that. I'm saying we on purpose because I was the same way in both my master's and my PhD program. It doesn't matter. Does anybody care what my GPA is? No, nobody gives a crap. No one's asked me on an interview. No one looks at a transcript that way. It doesn't matter, right? They want to know if you pass or fail. And that's how this exam is. And so I'm only saying that because we already, you guys know, we're going to put enough pressure on ourselves anyway. You know, I mean, a couple of you guys have already talked about test anxiety. Yeah, why would you not be anxious? Because if you don't pass, what happens? You have to take it again, and then you got to wait. And then, you know what I mean? It makes sense that you would feel anxious about it. That's okay. That's okay. Feel anxious and then do it anyway. It's okay. It's not going to hurt you, you know. But I like thinking about it that way. Just like, hey, I need to pass. That's it. I really don't care. Because once you pass, are you going to think about it again? No. You're done. You've already moved on, right? So does that make sense though, what I'm saying? Hopefully. Okay, cool. Or is it just two of you guys that have taken it so far? Which is fine. I'm just curious. Is anybody scheduled to take it? Like, I know Antonio, you're taking it in July. Is anyone else already kind of scheduled to take it
I've scheduled
I take
mine,
mine
but
in
I'm not scheduled
August.
until August. Yeah.
August?
Me too. I'm in August as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is I think it's great. You can take it before COVID. You had to wait till you graduated. That was a pain in the butt, if I'm honest. Now you can take it. You could have taken it in January. You had enough hours, so that's a good thing. So I think it's good to take it. I personally think it's good to take it while everything's fairly fresh on your mind. You know, it's a very application driven test. I think it's hard in some parts, and then it's long on purpose too. So there's just some things that are you just kind of have to wrap your head around. The other part of the uh, like test that you'll need is the jurisprudence exam, which is, and I'm going to show you some of this here in a second, but that's like pass, that's like take it till you pass kind of thing. You don't need to study for it. You'll take it. If you get something wrong, they tell you what you got wrong, gave you the right answer, and then you take it again and pass it. So that one's pretty easy. So those are the two big things that you'll need to do. I need to stop for a second because I meant to do this before I got going. Are there any MFT people here right now? I don't. Laura, you? Okay. You might be the only one. Okay. The reason why I'm asking is because the MFT world and the LPC world at this point are a little bit, this is where we kind of diverge from each other. So the LMFT folks will go for one more practicum, and the LPC folks will be done in terms of practicum work. And they in the NCE and the AAMFT national exam are different too. Those are two totally different exams. And Laura, if you have time, like right after class, like if you could give me another 5 minutes, I was gonna talk to you about a couple of things, and I'm in charge of the MFT program at Amberton. So there's a couple of things we're going to start doing that are just a little bit different to help with some of the study guides and things like that there. So if you have time right after, that'd be awesome. If you could
Sure,
just
no
hang
problem.
around. Yeah, that'd be good. Okay, cool. Any other questions about anything before we get going?
I have a question. I am trying to market myself right now to see like just actually getting a position as a therapist.
Mhm.
Do you have any recommendations on where to look? I've created my resume and I'm sending that out, but I'm also like wondering, like I kind of feel like I don't have a clear picture of what my next step is. I know it's finding a way to collect my 3,000 hours, but I don't know what that looks like. And I do work as a school counselor, so I know that I can get a supervisor that way. But it is something that I'm trying to get out of education. Like that eventually the goal is to get out of education. So it's like, how do I go in that direction?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, so a couple of things you could think about. Hmm. There's a practical part of my brain that says if you're in education and you're a school counselor, you can really start getting a lot of hours that way. So I would say
Mhm.
hours are important. 1,500 hours is a lot of hours.
Mhm.
So, to get a good kickstart, I think is smart. If you want to branch out, like if you want to work in a private practice, let's say, or, some type of clinic or something like that, I mean, then I kind of fall back on the idea of like, don't quit your job until you have a new job kind of deal, right?
Right.
So if you have a spot, you can start getting hours. That's awesome. Do
Mhm.
that, and then you can still look and market yourself and look around. Holly, where do you live?
I live in Irving,
Okay.
about 5 minutes away from DFW. So I'm central, but to drive like I guess Plano's a little Allen, Plano, that area is a little too far, but
Yeah. There's a restoration therapy is a, that's where Dr. Hubbard works right now. They've got multiple places. Logos counseling, I think is what it's called. They've got multiple places. Places like that are like, kind of have multiple sites, and they take interns or
okay.
associates, sorry, associates. They take associates. That'll probably be your um, most probably 90% of students usually stay at the site they've gathered their hours. That's where most folks stay. Um, but I would say for you, it makes sense to kind of, you know, it kind of makes sense to me like to stay where you're at if you can start getting your hours. Doesn't mean you have to end up there. You can move
Yeah.
around. Everyone, you can move sites the whole
Uh,
time. Like I think I did. I had one, two, three. I think I had four sites, like not at the same time, but like random various times. So you can move around as long as you have the same supervisor, right? Or kind of keep the supervisor intact. You can move sites. It's not
A-
it's not really hard to do.
And do you have a list of are people that you know that are LPCS? So because I mean that's kind of I've got a referral from somebody else I know. I got a referral from them, but I'm still like, you have to find the right fit for
Mhm.
you as well.
Yeah,
And so I want it to not just say, "Oh, I
yeah,
found this one. This is my person."
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So the Texas Counseling Association is like one of the big uh, bodies in Texas. That's a great place to go and look. You can actually do those searches on Psychology Today as well for people. I don't know if on the BHEC site if they have that listed. The Texas the TAMFT state site, the Texas Marriage and Family Therapy site, actually has a listing of supervisors. But I would start with TCA, and then if I'm being honest, the way you just kind of word of mouth this thing, you really
Yeah.
because it is hard to find supervisors. Well, because you're going to interview them, they're going to interview you, you're going to interview them, and so and this kind of leads into something we were going to talk about anyway. When you're when you get your associate license, you can't see someone without a license, right? You are using your supervisor's license to see clients. So you're practicing under their license, right? So that's why they're going to interview you because they want to, they got to be able to trust that you're going to be ethical and follow the guidelines and, do the things you're supposed to do with your clients. It doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. That's why you have a supervisor, right? Like right now, everyone's practicing under the Amberton umbrella, basically with supervision at a site, right? That's kind of how it works now. So, but I think to your point, I think you mentioned this. It does need to be a good fit, and so a fit could mean, um, I don't know. Uh, I think I'm going to do mostly CBT. I'm just making this up, like CBT. So I want to have a supervisor that's, can supervise me in that under that kind of model or narrative therapy or whatever you're thinking. I mean, that's a way to narrow down. So, and I honestly, I think sometimes it just matters like if when you meet with the supervisor and then you kind of gel together and you seem to get along fairly well, that, you'll know that rapport matters because you're going to be with them for a while and you're going to be paying them, too.
Yeah.
So that's a long answer to a short question. Does that make
No.
sense?
Yeah, you gave me some resources. My other question is I was going to update my LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Is that something that's used in like mental health counseling?
I don't know. Yeah,
Yes,
I
it
don't.
is
I mean, I guess it is, but
a lot.
I think here's the here's the deal with putting yourself out on social media of any kind. Just make sure that what you're saying about yourself is actually what is true.
Hmm.
For example, right now, you can only say, I am a student intern. When you get your associate license, you can only say you're an LPC associate,
Hmm.
right? So you have to call yourself whatever you
Whatever
actually
you
are,
are.
right?
Is mental health professional
That's what
appropriate?
that's
Yeah.
what that
Okay.
is, yeah. So
Yeah.
our degree changed because that's mainly what it's still confusing because the LPC is still the designation, but mental health professional is really the title of the degree that we have now.
Okay.
And so when you do your license, you're still a licensed professional counselor because there hasn't been a total change um, all the way over. And so,
Mhm.
um, but either one of those are fine. You just have to make sure that people know, hey, I'm an associate because people don't know.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, even when you're a full license, when you're fully licensed, LPC, LMFT, MA, what nobody knows what any of these things are.
Mhm.
So you have to tell them anyway. That's why there's very strict rules on how we advertise ourselves. So make sure that you're following those guidelines because we've had people in the past that have actually put themselves out there and represented themselves as something that they weren't. We actually had one student a few years ago like not be able to get their license because of that. So don't do things that keep you from getting your license for sure. So, but you can put yourself on any of these, sites.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, I have a question that's kind of like into that. So right now I'm in the insurance industry. So I do attorney represented injury claims. Has nothing to do with counseling. I can get 0 hours.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like my financial foundation at this point, right? So once I'm done this summer and I find a site that I want to work at, I know the money coming from there is not going to be right out the gate. So my concern is like how many hours, like I haven't had a Saturday off since March 22nd, right? Like even right now, I'm sitting in the parking lot. I have a client at 10 o'clock, right? And it's go time. And I know that's not going to be realistic for me to work 6 days a week. Now, maybe if I'm getting money, 6 days a week starts sounding better. But for right now, I know I can't go like that forever, right? So then it's like, what do people generally do to, um, do they maybe find two locations to work at once? Or, I mean, I'm talking about as far as gathering hours, because I don't want, the way I look at it is the longer I have to get to my 3,000 hours, the longer I have to take a short on what I'm getting paid as an LPC associate, and the longer I have to stay in the industry that I got into this program to get out of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you balance all that?
So are you saying how do you balance making enough money and getting enough hours?
I guess you could say that. Yeah, basically.
So what's what's the driver for you overall?
The driver is to make the transition into mental health counseling for full time. That's what prefer to do. I guess you could say that's the driver. But
Yeah.
I wanted to do it in decency and in order. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm still learning, so it wouldn't make sense for me to start November personally and start my own practice per se, right? Or just to jump out there and get paid $30 an hour or something like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think that it sounds like this is where it gets, at least to me, there's not rocket science. The more people you see, the more hours you get,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The more hours you get, potentially those hours are taken away from somewhere else. Just like if you work, right? If the more hours you work somewhere over here, the less hours you're getting with clients.
right.
So how do you balance those two things? And how do you stay alive and live and be able to make enough money to live? That's obviously important, but
Mhm.
also get the hours and it doesn't take you 6 years to get that's what it sounds like you're asking,
Right. Uh-huh.
right? Which makes sense. It sounds like you got a lot of 6, 7 day work weeks coming.
I know.
Yeah.
I
I
know.
mean, just FYI, I work 6 days a week. I've been doing it for about 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Now,
feel like,
now my driver might be different than yours though, right?
okay.
So our why matters, right? Like what we're doing it for matters 100%. Now, I'm not advocating that we drive ourselves into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Not advocating that at all. You know, I think what it sounds like you have a great question, and I have every confidence you'll figure it out. I know you will.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone here is smart. Everyone here is adaptable. Everyone here is flexible. You had to be to do this. I know you're going to figure it out. I think it's a good question, though. I wish you could say, "We'll do this," and then that's it. I mean, I think it's going to be probably at the beginning, probably some of those 6 day work weeks at the beginning until you kind of figure out, what a good kind of rhythm is for you. Probably, I bet.
Guess part of the question is my question and how I'm feeling going into this. Is this common? Do a
Yes,
lot of people get to this point and they're trying to figure out, like, how does
hundred
that, how,
percent.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because here's the reason why. Our program is not an on-campus program, number one, and none of us are 20 years old. We're all
Right.
working. We're all coming from another profession. We're all doing that profession while, all of us. So I would say, don't y'all think this is, I mean, what you're asking, I think is a comment. You're not alone.
Yeah,
That 100% you're not alone. That is 100% true.
yeah, this is a long-term transition type goal. That's why when Holly was speaking, I'm like, we're lucky to be in the school building because we got a lot of hours there we can count, you know.
Yeah.
So, and Damien wouldn't have that same advantage. So I did want to piggyback off of both of those because I am in the mindset now that I've seen how another person's practice might work. I'm like, well, I might want to do private practice. I know I'll be using someone else's supervision or whatever or name. But what do you think about? Because I'm an educator, I feel like Saturdays is my day to like do private practice. I've been researching therapy space, kind of renting out an office out of there on Saturdays only, and kind of seeing clients that way, and maybe doing it virtually after school when I can during the week.
Yeah, you can do that. So as of about 5 years ago or six, LPCs and LMFTs can have their own practice as long as they're practicing with the supervisor. Yeah. So that is an option that you have. I think if you say you're going to work on Saturdays, you'll fill up pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm committed to doing it Saturdays because I work a lot already. But
Yeah, yeah.
now that school is over, I can definitely say, okay, if I rent a space, I could fill up a Saturday and do that consistently
Hmm.
and be okay.
I
So
mean,
that was
yeah, and we're going to talk about what I'm about to say a lot more, but you can think about hours this way. It's like, okay, like I said, it's not rocket science, right? So 1,500 direct hours is kind of what we're shooting for. If you see 10 clients a week, 10 hours a week for 52 weeks, that's one thing. That's 520 hours, right?
mm,
Probably not going to do that at the beginning. But if you can average, over time, let's say 2 years, if you can average around 12 hours a week, then we're getting in a ballpark where you're done in around 3 years,
mm,
roughly. It depends on how quick how quick you can go. But if you have a full-time job over here and then you're going to part-time do therapy over here, which is kind of what you've been doing now, then that means it's one of those is going to have to give somewhere. That's all. That's just kind of how it works. But Damien, you're not alone. That is super common. Super common.
And so, just real quick, so the 1,500 direct hours, the other hours are going to be like taking classes and reading or
Everything,
whatever
yeah,
like that.
everything else. Yep, yep. Anything outside the room, those are easy to get.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are easy to get. Yeah. Anything you do therapy, counseling wise outside that room is indirect. I mean, that is not hard to get those hours.
Okay. And then real quick, I was looking back. I don't know why I had a kind of a brain freeze. So when we're turning in our hours, um, the hours we have co-counseling with the supervisor and the hours we have direct with our clients, those are our 100,
mm.
Correct.
right?
That's
And the
correct.
supervision hours, do they count into that 100 or are they count into the other, 120 or whatever it is?
That's the indirect hours with the supervisor. When you're doing supervision,
Okay.
those are all indirect hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All
I
right.
had another one, Dr. Bedar. Well, I had two, but let me go with this one. So far as the clients, like last week on Tuesday, I had two clients scheduled. Neither of them showed. I sat there for 20 minutes. I'm like, look, my time is I value my time. What are your feelings on that type of situation?
With no shows,
Yes.
well, that's a great question. So that's really up to you. I charge for no shows.
I mean,
I
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to keep doing this and not count this. I'm
Yeah,
like, this is just silly.
yeah.
But I didn't know what you were thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to it's up to everyone kind of does their own thing when it comes to that. There's no like rule about it.
Hmm.
Most places that you work have a policy about no shows, and that whatever you do has to be in the initial intake paperwork, as long as they know what the expectations are and what the no show policy is, which is a common policy for like a doctor's visit or, a
Hmm.
dentist or, everyone has a no show because of that. Everybody's got a policy. So it's really up to you. Now, I've got some colleagues that if you no show twice, then that's it.
Oh, you don't see them. Okay.
Yeah, you're done. But that's in that everything has to be spelled out in the initial intake paperwork that you give people. So that's just part of your practice policies that you'll have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is there some kind of framework for how to get started? Because I also had like, so can an associate take insurance? Is it worth taking insurance?
No. Associates
No.
can't take insurance. There are some supervisors that are putting their associates under their umbrella of insurance. That's
Hmm.
starting to happen.
Okay.
We're actually going to have a whole class on that as well. And Amerton is going to launch a private practice class as an elective in the fall. I believe it's going to be in the fall. And
Oh,
I think
okay.
we're trying to get it to where like alumni can take that class as well.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what if we wanted to take it if that was possible? Okay.
I think we've just kind of started talking about it a little bit, and like there's a bunch of us that are going to teach it. Like I'm going to teach it. Dr. Armstrong's going to teach it. I mean, we're all Dr. Milliken. There's a bunch of different folks that are going to teach it, but there's a book we're going to use, and it's going to be like the full on like business plan. Setting pricing. I mean, everything. We're going to talk about the
Mm.
whole thing. So there are lots of resources about private practice now versus 10 years ago. Lots of resources. I think I did a presentation on private practice back in 2013 at the Texas Marriage and Family Therapy Conference. We were the only people, me and my colleague of mine did. We presented research. We did a whole class on it. We talked about building a practice. The whole class was packed with people. We were the only people that did it. I think this past conference they had like 4 or 5 of those seminars. So there's tons of information out there now about it. There's another thing that I have put on Moodle that is about being a 1099 employee, which means contracted employee versus a W-2 employee, and tax purposes and what that means. It's an interview that I did with a friend of mine, Chris Kendall, who's a CPA. That video is on Moodle. It's like 2 hours long because it was a class, but I would encourage you guys to watch it. He goes through basically everything soup to nuts in terms of tax implications. I think that's super helpful to watch too. But we're going to talk about all these things. I think the third class, I think we're going to dive right into a lot of these topics and kind of go through them too. Um, but there are resources out there now for sure about private practice. So it's definitely it's definitely an avenue that people are thinking about doing more and more. I personally, my personal opinion about it, if I ever started, I've started 3 practices. If I ever did it again, I'd do it with somebody. I wouldn't do it by myself. That's what I would do, just because,
Mm.
like you said, I just don't have time to build it. It takes a while to build, 18 to 20 months to build a practice, especially if you're going to be, self-pay. Just takes time to do it. So, but like I said, we're going to talk about a lot of those things. Um, So, any other questions about anything else before I kind of jump into I just want to show you guys a couple of websites today, just so you see them. Um, that's because I feel like this like the BHEC website. Hopefully, can everybody see that? Hopefully, I want to get. I hate when Zoom changes my whole setup here. So this is the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council. It's basically a clearinghouse for all the little so everything mental health is through this clearinghouse now. So professional counselors have their little section here. Marriage and family therapists have their section. And basically within this, you'll find everything from applying for a license. You can look at the board. You can look at the upcoming dates for the board meetings. You can look at the examination. The jurisprudence is in there. They've got FAQs there. This is new, actually. This little in the lead page, these videos that they have, this is brand new. I have not seen this before. So they've got, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. They've actually got these how-to user guides now, which I think is really cool. Because you can look up, like when you do apply for your license and you're waiting and waiting, you can actually look up to see if it's gone through. A lot of times you can see your license listed before you get the correspondence saying that you've been approved. And so I just like for people to see this. I think this is a good website to just jump on and kind of look around right now. And because this is where you're going to live from now on when you're licensed through the state of Texas. This is where you're going to get all your information about your licensure. And so this is definitely a place to kind of look. The other thing that you can do, and they have changed this a little bit. There's a little place right here called email updates. You can sign up for updates from the BHEC meetings, and that covers all the mental health policies, even changes to regulations and rules. You can get those emails, they come once a month. I think that's super helpful because a lot of times it's like, hey, we're going to make a change, and all of a sudden LPCs can count hours toward licensure. LPC interns can count hours toward licensure. You would find that out here first. So there's things like that you can sign up for. I think is very helpful to me. There's also this little chart on how quickly people are getting their license. And so there's just so the average application number of days for MFT associates 158 days, LPC associates 33 days. That's on the average. So that's pretty good. 158, that seems really high. I think it's quicker than that, but anyway, they've started listing all these things because people started asking more questions about it, wondering where their license was. So this is just a good place to go, just so you can kind of know, hey, here's, how do I find out about my profession? This is the place to go. Even for the exam, like you can find, different things in here about the national exam. I think they list it here. And they don't have the national exam listed on this one, but I've got some information there for the MFT folks. Anyway, I just like to share this because this is where you're going to live. You're going to be on here, especially when you're updating or you're renewing your license, changing from LPC A to regular, the LPC full licensure. So that's something that I think can be very helpful for everyone. Let me get this off here. There we go. Okay. So I would encourage you to just go kind of just surf around there a little bit. Check it out. All right. Okay, that's kind of all my whole agenda this morning. What we'll do next time we meet is we'll start with any cases. Like if anybody's got a case they'd like to discuss, we'll do that at the beginning. We're going to do some other things that during that time too. We'll meet from 9 to 11. I don't remember the dates off the top of my head, but I can look them up. I think the next one is, I think it's the 5th of July. Yeah. I think it's either, yeah, I think it's the 5th of July. And I'm going to record all the classes as well. And so, if you can't make it, because I know some people have clients, which your clients should always come over practicum before practicum anyway. You need to keep getting your hours. The only other question I was going to ask is anyone like concerned about they're not going to get enough hours to graduate? That's really the biggest concern I have right now. Anybody worried about it?
I'm kind of in a place where I'm receiving hours at two different places, or sorry, at one place in two different ways. So I'm receiving direct hours as a forensic interviewer, but I'm also receiving direct hours through counseling at the same location at a children's advocacy center.
Hmm.
And the counseling clients are just not coming in the quantity that I had hoped they would.
Hmm.
And though I am receiving hours through forensic interviewing, it's not that like direct counseling that I would like to get the experience in. So
Yeah,
that's where I'm kind of more in the place of it's I'm getting qualifying hours, but it's not the experience I desire. So that's where I'm feeling frustrated and not where I'd like to be.
yeah. Are you going to be able to get enough of those hours to graduate at the minimum?
With direct in general, yes. I'm kind of more in a place where I'd like to see more
Yeah,
just counseling in general with the variety. Like I have like a few kids right now, but it's just not with the way that no shows go at this location as well. It's just
yeah,
I'm really not getting the hours that I would particularly like to get. And like I said, I
yeah.
am getting the forensic interviewing hours, but it's more investigative than counseling technique in that
Gotcha.
situation.
Yeah, that's a tough situation, Madeline. I definitely understand that. Keep in mind too that you got 1,500 hours to get, so you can really branch out from that standpoint. Um, but I understand wanting to get a variety of, like, see a variety of clients. That makes sense. I mean, you can always find another site if you want, if you really want to. Um, it really kind of depends on how much you want to work, really, to get, to finish up, probably more than anything. But it makes sense to be a little, I think no shows and people not showing up is frustrating anyway, no matter what, no matter where you're at. Or if you not, are not getting enough, if you're not getting the amount of hours that you thought you were going to get, that's frustrating too, for sure. So, the main thing right now, I think, would be as long as you're going to, you know, reach your requirements, that's good. And then everything else would be kind of like, hey, maybe that's something to think about, when you move into the LPC role, LPCA role, I guess.
Yes, and I think I would like perhaps in like I guess the next time we meet, I would like to touch base again just because the
Mhm.
summertime is a huge drop for both
Yeah,
counseling and forensic interviewing. And
yeah,
that's when I'll truly know if I will meet the amount of hours because I think I will be not cutting it close, but definitely near that area for
yeah,
getting enough hours with
yeah.
the way that it does dip. So I
Mhm.
guess the next meeting I can have a better idea of if I will be in the red on that.
Yeah, and that'll be good to know because we'll still have like 7 or 8 weeks left to, if we need to do something drastic.
Right, right. It's because it's my full-time job as well. So
Hmm.
it's nice in that situation, but then I only have, the weekends to find perhaps
Yeah,
a
yeah.
location or another location to work at. So kind
Gotcha,
of gonna gauge that within the next couple weeks.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, actually, I'm looking at my calendar wrong. We're going to meet on the 28th of June. 28th of June. So that's in 2 weeks. I was looking at that thinking July 5th, that doesn't make sense. July 4th is the day before. No one's going to meet on the 5th. That's stupid. So we're going to meet on the 28th. But yeah, Madeline, for sure, just keep me in the loop on it. Um, the other thing about finding another site at this point, it does take a little bit of time to do. So, but let's talk in a couple weeks
Right,
and kind of
right.
check in. Yeah, for
Yeah, that
sure.
sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Any other questions about anything?
I just had one more because I heard you say LPCA. Would it
Mhm.
would it be appropriate to put LPCA in like psychology today, or do you need to say associate?
You have to say associate.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to say associate. That changed a few years ago too. And the LMFTs do as well. Everyone has to say that. Yeah. It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Nobody knows what that is.
Mhm.
But you have to say that you're gathering hours under the supervision of whoever that is too. You just have to make sure that people know. The long and the short of it is, I know some people don't like doing that, I guess, but the long and the short of it is, if you're helping people, the people you're helping don't care what that says. They just need help. You know. So, um, but yeah, the way you advertise yourself does matter quite a bit. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Everyone but Laura is dismissed. Laura has to stick around and listen to me drone on for 5 more minutes. But I'll see everybody on the 28th and hope you guys have a good weekend. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Bye-bye.
you too.
great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, Laura. How are you doing your hours, first of all?
I am a little low.
Okay.
Practice that I'm at is seeing record lows in
Okay.
their client hours right now.
Okay. Where do you live?
I live in between Denton and Louisville in Hickory Creek.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Where are you going getting your hours?
Olive Branch Family Therapy in
Oh, yeah,
Denton.
with Bo and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I know them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a great place. So there's another place over there with a friend of mine, Brittany Brummett, that has a practice called Hope for the Heart. I think she's in Prosper potentially, but closer to Denton. That would be she's pretty busy, I think.
Okay.
That she
I'm
would
gonna
be
write
a
that
good,
down.
yeah, she would be a good place to look. That's where I finished my hours at Lifeway Counseling Center that was right like 2 miles from Olive Branch. But it's not there anymore. The place I finished my hours. Um, yeah, that's good. That's a good spot.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm getting
Yeah,
really great um, hours with
yeah,
the practice. The
yeah.
quality of my hours is amazing.
Well, and they're MFT, so
Yes.
that helps too.
I
Okay.
know, and they're just giving me such great supervision and
Yeah,
wisdom.
yeah. Good. Yeah, that's good. Well, what I was going to tell you is, I didn't know this, but we have around 80 people in the program right now, which is quite a few. Now they're at different various stages too. So some people are just starting, and then some people are doing both LPC and LMFT tracks.
Oh,
And one of the
okay.
things that I'm going to start doing, I'm going to have a Zoom like office hour kind of get together with whoever wants to come and show up. And I'm just going to share some resources for the LMFT world in Texas and
Okay.
talk about like, hey, here's some study material, here's some things to look for, here's some ways to get involved, that type stuff. But also just kind of a place to see everybody, just to kind of see who's in the program. Because when you have a program that's online, you don't, we don't see each other. And
Right.
it makes I think it makes a big difference for us to be able to network with each other a little bit because the
Yes.
LMFT world is actually very small in Texas.
Oh,
There's only about 4,000 LMFTs. There's like 32,000 LPCs.
yeah.
So we have a small world. So we know a lot of the same people. So I think it helps to, kind of, I just want to encourage the field because I'm very passionate about the MFT field. So so what I'm gonna do is I'm trying to set the date right now. It's going to be in June, like later in June. But it's just going to be like an hour get together, hang out kind of thing. And I've sent a message out to all the other classes as well about it. And so, um, just so you know, like the TAMFT website has
Yes.
got a ton of information on there about the exam, like exam prep.
Yeah,
Um,
I used Sarah
Sarah
from
Blakesley, Sarah
yeah,
Cole.
her exam prep is
Yeah,
it's high quality. I
yeah,
was
yeah.
impressed with the learning. However, the practice exam, that we had to take to enter into
Yeah.
practicum. It didn't really prepare me for that,
No.
but I think that it's going to prepare me well for the real test.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. The practice exams generally are harder, usually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Sarah's great. Yeah, that's a great prep. All the materials and everything she does is great. Um,
Yes.
so I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, I mean, honestly, at Amerton, we never really talked about that much. And so I'm trying to kind of
Yeah.
talk about it a little bit more because I want to kind of try to build our program a little bit. So, because you guys are I mean, you got now keep in mind, you got a whole other practicums too. So,
Right.
during the
Yeah.
fall. So you have, 12, 15, 14 weeks
Yes.
left. So how many hours do you have right now? Do you know, like relationship hours?
Yeah. Direct counseling hours, a high week for me is 5 to 6 clients right now.
Okay, that's
And
good.
so I've done the math, and if I can get 6 a week, if I had been getting 6 a
Yeah,
week, I
yeah,
would be keeping up with my hours. And so
yeah,
I'm trying to boost that in several different ways. And just, I'll see clients anytime.
yeah.
You
That's
want to see
right.
me Friday night at 8 p.m., I'll be there. So,
That's how it was too. Because it's hard to get the relationship hours. Those are difficult. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, good. That's a good place that you're at. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Now, are you doing it in person?
Oh, all in person. That's my
Yeah.
preference. I will do virtual if they want that, but in person is
Okay.
that's yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, that's good. Good. Well, I just wanted to throw that out and let you know about that. And there's other folks in this class. They're LMFT folks too.
Mhm.
But we just didn't have, they just weren't on the call today. So, um, but I'm going to be sending out kind of information about this in the next week or so.
Okay, I've connected during the course of my time at Amerton with a couple of ladies
Hmm.
that are doing the MFT track, and so I'll let them know
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah,
gonna offer this networking. I think that'll be
yeah,
good.
for sure. So, matter of fact, I was emailing back and forth because I was trying to find out the best day to kind of do it. And I know, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, June. What I was shooting for is June 24th, actually, at 7:30. What I was trying to figure out is a way to get everyone to link, and so that'll be a week from Tuesday, I think, whenever the 24th is.
Okay.
So what I've got to
Um,
figure out is how to get a link to everybody. That's what I got to figure out.
well, I will spread the word. I probably won't be able to be there because I that's prime time counseling
Yeah, I know.
hours.
I know. Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't figure out a good time. I just picked a day, but that's
Yeah.
okay. We'll do it again too.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for that, and have a good weekend.
Okay. You too.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.